Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Psychic Garage. I'm the Psychic Mechanic, although I'm not really psychic, it's just a nickname. I don't have a title sequence today because I didn't like the one I had. I made it, I'm not a graphic artist, it wasn't working for me. So I'm just gonna probably do this kind of thing or just roll into my episodes from now on, unless I can find a graphic artist that can find me or make me something that looks good. So anyways, today's episode, a little while ago, I took a tour with Eric and another friend of ours that we've recently met through a junkyard in the Edmonton area that if you know about old cars, I've known about this junkyard for a lot of years. I was there probably almost 20 years ago, and the owner for the last, 20 years has been trying to sell the place with the cars and everything, but he is asking very high prices, I'm not afraid to say, for everything that he's got. And so there's a lot of vehicles left there, and he's under pressure by the city to pay his taxes, which are probably very expensive. So anyways, we went there looking for parts for my Meteor, and Eric and his friend, they were looking for bug parts or whatever. So we had pretty much free reign of his yard, and these vehicles, a lot of them have been there for many decades. There's trees growing through them, and it's pretty cool actually, and sad at the same time, because you're seeing a lot of vehicles that when they were parked didn't look so bad, and now they're looking really bad. So a lot of them are just parts cars, not restorable. There was one in a building that the door was ajar, and I had a quick peek in there. There was a nice old early 60s Ford, so there's some nice stuff in there. But most of it is scrap now, but he wants top dollar, so we didn't buy anything. I just quickly edited this together, putting all of my footage from my phone together, and this is just what we saw. So take a look at this. Just before we get to that, the new friend that Eric brought over, who wants to remain anonymous, he had this 69 Beetle that he picked up out of Saskatchewan. And it even has an automatic stick shift that still works perfectly. So this guy took us to that junkyard. This is the site that greeted you when you drove in and parked. Lots of parts and cars kicking around. I really like this old tow truck from the early 50s.
I mean, there's good metal there to make patches. Yeah.
Oh yeah. One of many vehicles with a tree growing through it. This was that early 60s Ford that I mentioned earlier that was squirreled away in a little garage. There was even an old sickle mower, well over 100 years old, that would normally be pulled behind a tractor or a horse. This poor old bug was so run down, only the doors, some trim, and maybe the glass were salvageable. I liked this old car because the paint that says "in tow" has probably been on there for decades. You could tell that there used to be a lot more cars here, and from what we understand, all the real rare and very sought after cars are long gone. So it is a Monarch.
It's Biscayne. 69? I think it's a Biscayne, though it's not a Chevelle. Brookwood, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or 68 maybe. I can tell if I see the front. About a year ago, my dad just bought a 67 Ford Galaxie. This one is probably not a restoration candidate, but there are a lot of really good parts on it.
It's been here a long time. And the worst parts is just at the bottom of the fender.
This old International really got our attention. It was very unusual. I'd never seen one before. And it appeared to have a second fuel tank up at the front. Never heard of that before.
We could get lunch or go to the fucking museum. And then, this is an old city bank, right?
This field of cars in the back had some nice machinery that I hadn't seen in many, many years. It looks better this way anyways. This early 50s Pontiac probably only has a few salvageable pieces left. Because of the Meteor that I own, Old Faithful, I'm a bit of a fan of these cars, and I was surprised how many 50s models there were. This one's a 59. This one looks like a 53 model.
Only allowed 15 people at one time.
I liked this DeSoto. I've never seen one up close. First time. This tow truck looked like you could jump in, turn the key, and drive it away. Now here's a piece of Edmonton history, probably from the 50s, the 111th Avenue bus. I even walked in and took a brief look inside. That wraps up what we saw that day. I hope you enjoyed it. It was really neat to see a lot of those old vehicles, and even some from the 80s that no one really cared about at the time, but it's kind of neat to see them again, you know, the K cars and that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed it. It was a really cool afternoon, and I hope you enjoyed this. So be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.